Okay.
All right, so I'd like to make some comments before the vote. First, we had a budget process as mandated by state law, as shown in the New York State Controller's guidelines. We adhered to that budgetary process. We had a point where there was ample opportunity for resolutions and amendments. We had our public hearing where there was ample opportunity for amendments and updates. And so obviously we are doing that. We did that tonight. But what I think is important for everybody who's watching tonight, for all of our supporters who put us in office on our forward platform to clean the slum, to revitalize our downtown, and to bring new people into our government, budgets are a contract. Budgets are a legislative agenda. And what you just witnessed tonight is that you saw 3 trustees go against the budget officer of the village, go against the mayor that you elected, to strip away $350,000 from the environment, to strip away $155,000 out of the mayor's contractual budget for special projects that could include revitalization projects, funding for revitalization grants, for a update to our master plan that for months we've been trying to get through, including a rendering and a visual for what our downtown will look like in the future. And it doesn't look very good today. So we'd like to see what it'll look like in the future. I think that's critical. And there is a whole host of environmental projects that we'd like to do. And by the way, $350,000 doesn't even come close to the amount of money that we need to be putting into our environment. What's worse is that money was then stripped from the environment and then put right into the highway budget. For what? For paving? The issue, and not to mention paving, we're talking about we need permeable paving, which is way more expensive than $175,000. And by the way, we did fund a sewer study. And so what are we going to pave over the streets when we rip them up for the sewer system? We're going to undo our paving? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. So the fact that we have 3 members of our board just decide on the last minute to just strip away all of the work that we did to make this budget doesn't seem logical or right to me. When we were elected on a movement. We were elected to clean our lake, to revitalize our downtown, and you are witnessing right now 3 trustees that strip that away. And by the way, I'd like to know from our trustees right now, does anyone know how much, by a show of hands, does anyone know how much the tax levy went up this year versus last year? Could anyone raise your hand if you know it? I'm watching for hands.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I think that right now we're looking to, we have a resolution coming forward. This is not so much for grandstanding, and I really don't think so, because what you have witnessed is the public in the elected officials asking for clarification.
I would like
with regards.
I would like to finish
with regards to your
Brian, council,
agenda, and yet you
jumping in here explaining how
still haven't done and worked with the agenda.
Brian, could you just kind of give us a little heads up on how the meetings should work?
Well, we should obviously we just obey some level of allowing the person who's speaking to speak and be recognized by the chair. That's all the parliamentary point I would just make during this discussion.
I would just like my chance to speak, and then we could obviously give other people the floor. And we'll give you more time, by the way, to determine what percentage our tax levy went up. You can look it up online. You can go on your Excel spreadsheets. And so we'll give you more time just to know what percentage our tax levy went up. We'll give you some more time to look up what our tax rate was, or maybe just so you can let us know, because ultimately this budget that we put together was highly calculated. There was an initial budget. We actually increased the tax rate. We tapped out every single dollar that we could. We didn't need to tap out every single dollar we could. We tapped out every single dollar we could because we wanted to allocate and appropriate as much money for the environment as possible. And so I remember a late professor of mine, Joe Middleman at university. He was actually very instrumental in rebuilding the World Trade Center on September 11th with Walter Silverstein. And he had this good phrase. He used to say, always ignore everything before the but. And what happened here tonight is simply our trustees, 3 of them, not our entire board, not the majority of our board, our trustees said, we're for the environment, but this. We're for the environment, but we want it in the Board of Trustees special projects. We're for the environment, but we want it in highways. We're for the environment, but we don't know who spends it. And by the way, we should know this by now. Russell pointed out how this process works. It's quite simple. It's a board vote. It's a resolution. You guys can change the budget anytime you want. And that's how the process works. Now, going back to this point, we tapped out the budget for every single dollar we could. We increased the tax rate specifically for the environment. Now, that being said, what also needs to be stated is that the reason why we wanted mayoral contractual expenses was simply because we wanted this master plan. And what you again watched here tonight, to all of our supporters, what you watched is a board exercising their control. And this board is comprised of one political party. It's comprised of the Community Party, which used to be the Citizens with Integrity Party. And so you've got one board, one political party controlling this village still to this day, controlling this village to the point where they're just modifying the budget. And by the way, going against all the best practices of updating the agenda. And back in December, I remember being lectured as to how we need to put things on the budget 24 hours in advance. Well, guess what? This did not go in the budget 24 hours in advance. So maybe lesson learned here, but what the bad practices that we were doing in the past in 2019 are now the same practices that we're doing in 2020. It's just those practices have shifted from me to you. So now that being said, again, this is a stripping of the mayoral's contraction. And again, this is just an exercise of authority here. And so we've got one political party, the Community Party, bankrolled by LLCs and corporations and real estate developers, controlling this village still. And we are here, we're fighting for you. We're fighting for the budget. We're fighting for the environment. We're fighting for the downtown. And by the way, Mark, I'd like to mention, you're completely wrong when you say you're looking out for the bond rating, because what bond ratings want to see is they want to see transparency. So they want to see a line item for environmental services so they know exactly where the money's going. They don't want the money hidden in the highway department. We don't even know what that money's going for. They want to see transparency. That's recommended by the New York State Comptroller's Office. I think Russell and our Councilor Brian Egan would actually back that up. So what you're actually doing is making the budget more murky by passing that resolution instead of making it more transparent, which would get us more points on our bond rating. Oh, and by the way, when it comes to bond ratings, like I would imagine that if we had a booming, vibrant downtown, much of what has not happened over the last 14 years under the Epling Irving administration, where our downtown has eroded into vacant storefront after vacant storefront after vacant storefront. So we need a booming downtown, and to get that, we're gonna need a master plan, we're gonna need a sewer district, and we're gonna need to get this done. We're not gonna need 3 members of one political party usurping this board, ultra vires going at, as was done earlier in 2019, we're gonna need to get this done. And so I stand here today on behalf of every single one of my supporters, every single person that elected us, and telling you that we completely disagree with what you just did. It was sneaky, you did it at the end, and you stripped all the money from the environment, you stripped all the money of the mayor contractual service, and you hid it in the highway department, by the way, which you control. So that being said, that's what I've got tonight. I've got plenty of questions for you guys when it comes to the tax levy, because I'd like to know if you even know. I'd like to know if you even know what our taxes are this year, how much they went up versus last year. I'd like to know if you even know this stuff, but I've said what I had to say. I think I've made it pretty clear. We're gonna vote no on this budget, and that's that. This will be really the defining factor moving forward.
A resolution is brought forth and discussion is had. That to me didn't sound too much like discussion. And I apologize to the public for that, because that was not how discussion is supposed to occur.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a motion and a second, so roll call vote. Trustee Yastrzemski.
Nay.
Trustee Allen.
Aye.
Mayor Warren.
Nay.
Trustee Parrish. Unmute.
Aye.
Trustee Polaro.
Aye.
Okay.